Hello and welcome to Lauriston Castle. Please do come in. Let me introduce myself. I'm Mrs. Mackay and I'm the housekeeper here in Lauriston. Mr. and Mrs. Reid are of course the owners of the house, and also Mr. Barton, Mrs. Reid's brother, are really looking forward to meeting you today. They're always happy to welcome families from the parish into their home. And they do so enjoy entertaining and have had lots of guests since they moved into Lauriston in 1903. Do you know, it seems hard to believe it's been 5 years already. Now, please come up the stairs and into the reception hall. Do you like our simple decorations for the Christmas and New Year season? I think the tartan cloth wound round the banisters on the staircase is so effective, and the sprigs of holly and ivy look really festive too. Alexander, our gardener, has cut them fresh from the garden just this morning. Grace, one of the maids, placed them carefully above the fireplace and on the side tables. She wouldn't let any of the other maids do it in case they knocked over any of Mr. Reid's valuable ornaments. So now we're passing the dining room. Would you like to take a peep at the table? It's all laid and ready for Mr. and Mrs. Reid's guests. I ordered some beautiful red and green ribbon this year from Jenner's store in Princess Street, and Grace, she tied it into bows and fastened them to the table. I hope you'll agree it looks very festive. Of course, this is such a busy time for cook and the kitchen maid. In addition to cooking the 5-course meals we always serve at Lauriston when there are guests, she's extra work at Christmas. At the moment, she's downstairs preparing the fruit for the clootie dumpling for Christmas Day. It's always delicious. And I know that because the staff always get a share of the pudding too. We are very lucky here at Lauriston, and Mr. and Mrs. Reid treat us so well. Of course, Christmas Day is not a holiday here in Scotland, but Mr. and Mrs. Reid like to have a special meal on Christmas Day. After going to church, of course. Now, I'll take you into the sitting room to wait for them. They'll be joining us very soon. Boys and girls, would you like to come forward to look at the Christmas tree? Isn't it lovely? We are so lucky to have electric lights since Mr. Barton installed electricity in Lauriston. Those old candles were so difficult to light and, of course, so dangerous. Alexander helped me with the tree earlier, which was very good of him, even though I did have to scold him for wearing his big boots inside on my clean carpet. As you can see, there are some toys around the Christmas tree. Mr. and Mrs. Reid are always so generous and give presents to some of the children in the parish. I'm sure there'll be something here for you too. Now, Mrs. Reid has asked me to read you some poetry this afternoon before she comes through. And I've recently found a lovely poem about a snowman. I noticed it was beginning to snow when you arrived. I'm sure we'll have a lot of snow at Christmas again this year. The grounds here in Lauriston are beautiful in the snow. A snowman. Oh, the beautiful snow. We are all in a glow. Nell, Dolly and Willie and Dan, for the primest of fun, when all's said and done, is just making a big snowman. 2 stones for his eyes, look quite owlishly wise. A hard pinch of snow for his nose, then a mouth that's as big as the snout of a pig, and he'll want an old pipe, I suppose. Then the snowman is done, and tomorrow what fun! Tom makes piles of snow cannon all day, and to pelt him with balls till he totters and falls, and a thaw comes and melts him away. Did you like that poem? I'm sure you'll be looking forward to making a snowman too, maybe even a few snowballs. I know, I loved playing in the snow when I was a wee girl in Durness in the Highlands. And now, Here is another favourite of mine. It's called Christmas Roses. A bunch of Christmas roses, dear, to greet my fairest child. I plucked them in the garden where the drifting snow laid piled. I cannot bring you violets, dear, or cowslips growing wild, or daisy chain for thee to wear, my child. For all the grassy meadows near are clad with snow, my child. Through all the days of winter drear, no rain of sun has smiled. I plucked this bunch of verses, dear, from out my garden wild. I plucked them in the winter drear, for you, my fairest child, your wet and wintry hours to cheer. They're Christmas roses, child. Oh, this poem also reminds me of my childhood up north. I must ask Alexander if we have any Christmas roses in the garden here in Lauriston. Now, do you know that Mrs. and Mr. Reid have travelled extensively, and not just in Scotland? This house is full of books, objects and paintings they've bought on their travels. And Mrs. Reid has a particular affection for a poem written by an American gentleman called Clement Moore. The poem is "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," and she has chosen it as she thinks it's a special poem for children. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new-fallen snow gave a lustre of midday to objects below. When what to my wondering eyes did appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With an odd little driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment he must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then, in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur, from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke, it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." Oh, children, I hope you enjoyed that poem as much as I did. And now, just before you arrived, I asked Mr. Reed if he had a favourite Christmas poem. He told me that he didn't really have a favourite poem, but that he admires a story called A Christmas Carol by Mr. Charles Dickens. Now, that is a wonderful story, but it would take me far too long to read it today. However, Mr. Reed asked me if I would read just one short quotation from it. "I will know Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year." That's a lovely thought, isn't it? I think you'll agree that it would be good if we can remember to be kind to each other all year round. Ah, here come Mr. and Mrs. Reed, Mr. Barton and Mrs. Reed's friend, Mrs. Croll from Craigroot Castle. Oh, and Grace and Alexander are here too. So before I go to see if Cook has your afternoon tea ready, I would like to wish you all a very happy Christmas and a safe and healthy New Year from all of us in Lauriston Castle.